Welcome to the Startup Competitors Podcast, where we talk with early-stage entrepreneurs to understand what information they use to inform product roadmap, strategy, and market differentiation.
Welcome to the Startup Competitors Podcast. Today we have David Feinman, who's the co-founder of Flixation. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, why don't we open with a quick pitch for Flixation and what you guys do?
Yeah, sure. So Flixation is an on-demand video editing platform. We have companies all over uploading us their video footage, and we then take that footage and turn it into a completed video for them. With the help of both editors and a creative director on staff.
Make that a little bit more tangible for me in terms of maybe my experience. So if I go to the Flixation website and I upload a video, what happens next? Am I like truly just hands off until I get a video back, or what does that look like?
I would say it's different levels. So companies just essentially give us their brief of what footage they want, and and their footage and some instructions, and we will then turn that into a video. So it's basically if you need essentially an augmented team or a team of editors on the back end, we supply that for video editing, and allow you to be able to edit a video quickly, affordably, and within a reasonable time while still retaining a good quality and a good experience of doing that.
Awesome. And what does the pricing model look like for that?
So it's a per hour basis. So we just charge you for what you get, and you get if you use 1 hour, you spend at our lowest price it'll be $35.
Awesome. For somebody who's listening, quick status of the business. So paint a picture for where you guys are at. That could be any sort of vanity metric you want to share, number of employees, how long you've been doing this, number of clients, anything that kind of lets somebody know what the status of the business is overall.
That's a good one. So we've done about 1,500 videos at this point. So I would say our real metric is the number of videos we're able to crank out. And as a team, we've so far done 1,500 total videos.
How many, what's the current run rate of videos a month, or is that not a realistic question?
That is a realistic question, but one that I don't have an immediate available answer for you.
Sorry, no worries.
So it definitely is a reasonable question, and one that I'll have to write down to go look into that, because that's a good metric to measure.
Well, that way when I have you on the show 2 years from now, and you just add a zero to that number, then we'll know the show had a big impact.
Exactly. I'll know that a lot of people started using our services after that.
That's correct. Okay, so let's talk about competition. When you look at the marketplace and look at competitors for Flixation, who comes to mind?
Yeah, so I think for us, there's a large competitive space. So let me back up to a macro level first, right? So the way companies are hiring work and are doing work has changed a lot, right? So it's not necessarily they're hiring full-time employees. They're not necessarily hiring part-time employees. They're just hiring for a job or a task that they need on demand, right? So if a company needs an accounting service, they might hire an on-demand account, which is aided by technology and a process and a system that's already built. So companies are buying in this modular framework and this kind of fragmented freelancer economy, which is kind of open the door for services like Flixation to have a place in the market, right? So if you look at our competitors, right, other companies, I kind of look at it as holistically, what are the other companies that are offering, video editing services in a way that's on demand? And, I don't want to compare us to either of these services because we're a fundamentally different part of the individual market. But, I would say, Upwork and Fiverr and services like that are really big behemoths in the industry that capture a lot of the share of market of video editing as a whole. But we capture a part of the market in that our real goal is to focus on experience and quality of experience and control that whole process design for video editing specifically. So where Upwork or Fiverr might have a broad stroke of different services that they could offer, we at Flixation really just focus on video editing. So we really have that process nailed down for our customers so that they have, this experience that really makes sense for them when they're ordering a video.
Can you dive into that? Well, I guess maybe two things. One, maybe dive into that experience a little bit more, like what makes that experience unique and special, and then maybe after you've done that, maybe zoom out a little bit, and then how did you guys land on that experience? I'd love to know, is it just like trial and error over 1,500 videos, or is it, no, we knew this coming into the business, that this is the kind of the experience we wanted and we've just perfected it, through that process? I'd love to know how you got there as well.
So we look, I can't take full credit for this system of designing a product, but we have a mentor that has advised us on something that he refers to as the product beat, and the product beat is various different evolutions of your product and service over time. We actually, at the same time as operating Flixation, we actually operate another part of the business called Viral Ideas, which is a standard production company for corporations that really is just like a solution for companies to come in. And we've done a considerable amount of work for that company over the past few years. And one of the things we noticed with that company is that companies want their edit done fast. They want it done efficiently, and they want it done correctly. They also want to be able to increase the amount of volume of content they're doing without necessarily paying large agency rates, because with social media and the trends of video being
right.
an integral part of every process of the business, a company isn't just doing one or two videos a year at $50,000, $100,000. They might be doing 100 to 200 videos a year, but they their budgets really haven't gone up much. They gotta make their budgets go a little further. So we noticed this in the market, and we kind of have reacted to it by looking at the experience that Viral Ideas has been able to provide, and offering something through Flixation where companies can get it better, faster, and cheaper all at the same time. We really just kind of took a look at where our product beat has gone, right? Starting with that production company of Viral Ideas and moving into our product Flixation of, hey, we had this production company that still exists and still produces videos, but what's the next evolution of that for companies? And it's that on-demand, fast, quality produced content that they need on an ongoing basis.
So that kind of story of how you got to where you are, take me then through the product experience. Like, how did you, as you think about designing the experience that a user goes through in that on-demand world, did that just come from all your experience in the prior agency world, or is that something that you're like, well, no, let's just get started and we'll tune it over time?
So for starters, right? So when I think about customer experience, I think it starts with one thing, which is the overlaying pillar is service. So we look to service as, if you've ever read the book, the Zappos books, right? Delivering happiness. Yeah. We like to think we've integrated that in a way with videos where, we're able to deliver videos in a way that we're always putting, the customer-centric ideology first in the business. And, that's been kind of like the number one propulsion. But beyond that, I think customer experience design comes from creating something that just fits in with what the customer would do in a normal process. So when companies work with Flixation, the process feels very natural, right? The process of editing video doesn't feel like an arduous task. It feels like something that's very fluid and goes back and forth, where, it could speed up the process by, weeks or even months to edit a video, because, we're able to do it in such a way that really just interacts with humans in a positive human interface way that allows a positive customer experience.
So then that experience, right? So kind of contrasting against a Fiverr experience, right? Because I've done my fair share of Fiverr requests. So like Fiverr is very much like you're just creating a connection to somebody. It very quickly starts to just become an email back and forth only through their platform, right? But you kind of, each time you start a new request, you kind of got to redefine what it is you want as you go through that process. How are you different? Like, walk me through what Flixation does to try to make that a more service oriented or a more customer oriented experience.
It's a great question. So I think experience then starts with understanding who your customer is, right? So at Flixation, we really focus on that corporation, and we focus on what we're doing specifically for that corporation. So, we're at the end of the day for Flixation creating corporate video production. We're interfacing with corporate video production companies. We're interfacing with franchises. We're interfacing with SaaS companies. And we understand what, over creating 1,500 videos, exactly what types of videos those companies will need. So when they're uploading us their raw footage, we're able to, on the back end, using both humans and a combination of technology, take a look at their raw footage and give them some ideas on what they can do with that, and where that footage can go. After that an early conversation comes, they'll get a couple of examples of, hey, this is what your video could look like in the end. Is this where you want to go with it? It really takes a lot of the what should I do with this out of the question, and it allows companies to just kind of really just start working with us, and really just kind of get that like integrated experience of what are best practices in the industry. What should I be doing? Because a lot of marketing becomes, in my opinion, becomes a what do I do, and am I doing the right thing? And if we could provide not only this service but a layer beyond that of offering them a way to understand what they should create, that's even more powerful in the experience, because we're kind of anticipating their needs before it happens.
Right on. Yeah. When you look at the market over the next 5 years, what else do you think is going to change in the way that, people or companies go out to produce video? And then, what are some of those trends that you think are going to change, like the frequency, right? So going from 2 videos a year to 200, potentially even maybe some of the underlying technologies. And then how are you positioning Flixation to support those changes?
Yeah, all good questions. So beyond volume, the methodology in which videos are going to be created at scale for companies, I believe, is going to change as well. So with the little rectangular box that we all have in our pockets, we're all, seconds away from being able to be a creator. We view Flixation in part as a tool for, the enablement of that individualized and democratized creativity that people within companies can do without the technical skills of having to set up a whole rig, camera, lighting, etc. So, we have a number of clients that are already now starting to use their phone as the capture medium versus using a standard camera. So, we see that as one trend. And, we also see another trend being, a need to distribute on multiple channels. It used to just be, video was consumed on TV, right? And it was the television commercial was the only way that corporations did it. But now companies are not only just using video for external marketing purposes, but, throughout their whole process. They're using it through their sales team. They're using it through their internal training. They're using it through, communication with their clients. So, Flixation, aims to be that, in the future aims to be that enablement for companies to have essentially a library of footage where they can, kind of work with us to edit and piece together what they need for that specific moment. Since they're going to have this, huge need for a volume of content in the future and different applications for the content, having that static area for them to be able to go in and, say, hey, I need an edit for this application or that application, makes a lot of sense for companies, in a 2020 plus environment.
Yeah. Do you ever white label Flixation or do it as an integration to a product? So like the specific use case that comes to mind is something that you said in there, which is, imagine I've got internal education platform. Like we interviewed the founder for Lessonly, late last year, and Lessonly is like a perfect example of where you're potentially producing tons of video. Some of it is probably fine being relatively low quality, especially if it's for something low level tactical that's probably going to change every 6 to 8 months. But then you think of the stuff that, is a little more timeless, having something where I could just upload video and like just check the box and it's going to go out to a service like yours. Is that something that you guys do right now? Like, do you partner with product companies to integrate what you've built?
We do a little bit more on. We're very selective about it. We partner right now with largely the other video production companies, and we'll run their back end editing. As far as integration with product, it's something that's on our roadmap. But to be able to do it at scale, we don't have the tech stack there yet to be able to enable that.
Got it.
So it makes integrations like that a bit of a manual challenge. So.
Yeah, that's understood. All right. Totally makes sense.
This episode is brought to you by Full Stack PEO. Most founders start companies because they figured out a better way to solve a problem or serve a need, not because they love tracking payroll, filling out compliance forms, and explaining employee benefits packages. And yet, all that stuff still has to be done. That's why there's Full Stack PEO. Full Stack PEO specializes in turnkey HR for emerging companies, not just those core services, but advice and expertise that help founders maximize employee potential. Curious? Find out more at fullstackpeo.com.
From a technology trends perspective, which maybe gets to the tech stack discussion for you and your team, what are some of those trends that you're keeping an eye on, and either maybe trying to understand what opportunities that creates for you? Like, that could be something like augmented reality or, stuff like that, where you're trying to figure out how do we play in that space in the future, or could be much more simple, like one of the ones you already kind of hit, which is as people switch more to just using their phone, right? Obviously, cameras and video on phone have reached a point where, especially for social media purposes and stuff like that, it's totally good enough, right? So are any other trends like that you guys are keeping an eye on and or trying to figure out what are the implications of that going to be for what you're building?
Yeah, I mean, I more look so on the how side, not what is the medium. Like, one of the big things I've been consciously thinking about is, how does automation play into our business, right? Like, you upload a deck of footage, right? A whole bank of footage to us, and can that be edited within 2 seconds? with an automated system. I think that's something that could be feasible in the future as an option. Right now our promised editing time is 5 days. We can go to 24 hours, but you couldn't beat a computer that could do it in a couple seconds theoretically. So,
right.
I think either software or hardware or whatever might have to catch up, but I haven't seen a solution out there that's really doing that at scale in our application, at least. I mean, I know there's a lot of automation tools that exist already that are doing it, but I would say the other one is that we're keeping an eye on. You have your whole virtual reality, augmented reality world, but I think until that world becomes seamless, I think it's going to take a bit of time for adoption. I think that world right now is you're seeing a lot of early adapters move in, like on the product. If you map out on a product chart right now, we're just in the early adapter phase of techies. I'll be at South by Southwest this weekend. I'm sure they're going to have a whole virtual reality, augmented reality section, but it's clunky, right? You have to put on a headset, right? You're entering this whole world. So what is the next evolution of that? Where it goes mass market? Is it something that integrates with our phone? Is it like, because I think the device has to almost integrate with our day-to-day lives in order for it to be useful and meaningful.
Yeah, we're not at the magic leap promise yet, right? Where like some of their early marketing videos where they just show you just wearing normal glasses and having a fully immersive augmented reality experience. We're nowhere near that.
And what's fascinating about it is, like, there was this whole study, right? Like, if you go back when the fax machine was first introduced, I forget the law of this, but one fax machine is effectively useless, right?
Right. Yeah.
But 1 million fax machines is very useful, or 10 million fax machines might be useful. And if every single person had a fax machine in the world, then it's incredibly useful. Same thing with cell phones, right? If one person has a cell phone and could text, that's pretty useless. If everyone in the world could text and has a cell phone, that solves that issue. I think something similar will happen with communication and communication style in the AR VR world. I just don't understand how it's going to happen yet. Like, is it going to be something that like beams out of your phone and like, is right in front of you? Is it some sort of glasses like you described, like you see in future movies? I don't know yet, but until that device and until that integration happens in a meaningful way, it's almost something that doesn't hit mass market.
Jumping around a little bit here, when you are targeting customer acquisition for Flixation, how do you do that? Is it a marketing driven product? Are people finding you in the wild and landing there, or do you have a target list of corporate clients that you're looking to get into and you've got somebody smiling and dialing? I'd love to hear your thoughts on customer acquisition.
All of the above. So we do paid advertisement on Google. We do Facebook ads. We do reach out, like individualized reach out, to companies that we want to work with. And then we do actually a lot of just cold email outreach. So those are our main ways of driving business. We hit a large chunk of them. It's working out pretty good so far. I would say people aren't finding us yet. We're still a new product, so we're still marketing actively the product. It hasn't really developed that K factor yet, but it's growing steadily with our marketing efforts.
Be interested when you're targeting someone. Is it like, especially maybe with the cold email, is that a marketing department? Like who are you? Well, I guess two things there. One is like who within an organization, and then for what you're trying to do, like what segment of the market do you think is the right segment for you to go after? My instinct is like maybe a mid-sized company versus on the smaller end, but I have no idea if that's true. Like when you think of the competitors in the space and where you guys fit, how do you think of that? And then how have you implemented that across your various campaigns?
Good question. So we're focusing on that mid-sized customer, right? So we're not focusing on a smaller business. We're focusing on businesses that have a little money to spend on video. We're a fair price for the value we deliver, but we're not Fiverr where you can go on and get a video for next to nothing. I would say second, as far as who within our organization does it. So we actually have automated a lot of what we do in terms of outreach, right? So we have one person that works on marketing, but everything they do is super scaled, right? So it's to the point where they have set up targeted campaigns that they can run and scale up, through email, Facebook, Google. All it takes is just cracking a few dials, adding some email addresses, and they're able to turn up the funnel and ultimately pass that back to me and my business partners. Still to this day do all the sales for the new customers, because we want to, while the business is still new, even though we've done 1,500 videos, we still want to give people that personal touch at first and let them know that, hey, like we're here for you, like in the beginning, and then we just pass it along to the team as it goes on.
Nice. When somebody uses Flixation, how long do they remain a customer? Do you have a feel yet for what that looks like? Do you get them and keep them forever, or are they typically doing a handful of videos then move on to something else? What does that look like?
It depends on the customer profile. I will say that once customers that have a large need for videos start doing videos with us, usually they're pretty much going to do their editing through us. But once they kind of get started, they get hooked on what our service is. But we'll have customers that'll come in that we've noticed that'll order every other month, or they'll pattern where they'll order quarterly. So it depends on the client profile and their actual needs.
Makes sense. All right. So you personally this year, do you have any goals for things that you're looking to learn or get better at? That could be in the business, out of the business, totally orthogonal question. But I'm always interested as I talk to people to learn a little bit more about what has them excited right now.
For sure. I've been doing two things for myself this year. Number one is I've always been fascinated with stock market, bonds, the market in general, and like historically what different things trigger different things. So I've been on a reading quest to learn more about investing and the markets and how all that works. And then my second quest is I'm training for an Ironman. So I signed up for a half Ironman in June and then a full one in September. So I just signed up for the both of them at the same time. And just set a goal to do it by the end of the year. I'll complete that. So I train probably an hour to 2 hours a day usually on that.
Congratulations, and you're crazy.
Just a little bit.
What's the best book you've read on investing so far? The one that you thought was the most helpful?
Tony Robbins' book, Money Master the Game, was great. It's heavy, but the book, it's the one that Warren Buffett always recommends.
Yeah, awesome.
I forget the name. The one by Benjamin Graham. If you look up Benjamin Graham book, it'll pop right up. I'm blanking on the title of it right now.
Benjamin Graham, The Intelligent Investor?
That would be the one. Yes. That one's really good.
I've never even heard of that one.
Yeah, it's actually the book that got Warren Buffett into investing. I'm about to read Ray Dalio, The Debt Crisis, which is supposed to be really good too. He's a famous hedge fund investor.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm familiar with Ray. I've not read that book. He just wrote Principles, right? I read that one last year. Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, very good. If people want to get in touch with you or learn more about Flixation, where can they do that?
Sure. Just go to flixation.co, Flixation.co. And you can just reach out to me through there. Or I am pretty active on all social media. So if you reach out to me, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, I'm usually pretty good at getting back to folks there. If anyone has any, follow-up questions or anything, I can be of help or assistance on.
I really appreciate it. David, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having
me. If you're thinking of launching a SaaS product, Startup Competitors can provide data on your closest competitors, survey potential users, or provide other product validation services. Learn more at startupcompetitors.com.